Slla Study Notes: Climate and Cultural Leadership. Explain the role of law enforcement in school discipline. Some student behavioral infractions are not only violations of school codes of conduct, but also of the law. Consequently, law enforcement has the right and responsibility to administer legal consequences in addition to local disciplinary consequences. For example, if students engage in a physical altercation on campus, they are subject to local disciplinary consequences, which may include suspension, but they are also subject to the law, which may warrant a citation. Many school districts and school leaders have opted to maintain a police presence on campus at all times. A school district may have its own police department dedicated to its schools. The police presence is established for the safety of everyone on campus. But if students break the law, the police exercise their authority by addressing the infraction. The involvement of law enforcement is discretionary at times, depending on the offense. Law enforcement is not a replacement for school discipline, but a supplement. Describe the role of disciplinary alternative education programs. Suspension and expulsion are consequences for severe student behavioral infractions. Suspensions typically last 1 to 3 days, but for some offenses, students are removed from the traditional education setting for longer periods of time. The public school system provides a means of education for all students, even those who have been removed from their traditional school due to extended suspension or expulsion. Students in these situations may receive their education through an alternative education program. In these programs, students may be assigned to attend the program for a certain number of days, usually for no longer than a school year. School districts may establish alternative education programs within the district or work with a program operating in that region. Additionally, students who commit crimes punishable by law may attend a school operated by the local juvenile justice department. Like other alternative education programs, the assigned duration that a student must attend varies based on the offense, as deemed by the courts. Explain the role of special education status in addressing disciplinary problems. When a student who is identified as receiving special education services displays behavioral issues, it is important to take certain steps to meet the child's needs. Some students with this identification already have behavioral plans in place. Teachers and school leaders must abide by these plans, which may include specific strategies for correcting a student's behavior or predetermined disciplinary consequences decided by the Special Education Committee, which may or may not be aligned to the General Student Code of Conduct. If a student who receives special education services commits a severe disciplinary infraction that could warrant consequences such as a suspension or expulsion, a special meeting must be held by the Special Education Committee to determine if the behavior was a manifestation of the student's identified disability. If it is concluded by the committee that the behavior is a manifestation of the student's identified disability, that student would likely not be subject to the traditional disciplinary consequences outlined by the Student Code of Conduct. On the other hand, if the committee determines that the student's behavior is not associated with the disability, the student would likely be subject to the outlined disciplinary consequences. Describe the role of parental communication in addressing discipline problems. Parental communication is an asset when addressing student discipline problems. it is important that parents are aware of their children's behavior while at school. This awareness, fostered through consistent and effective communication between the school and the parent, can help build a positive relationship and rapport. Additionally, the parent can support the school in disciplinary efforts and vice versa to establish consistency in behavioral expectations of the student. Finally, communication provides students with the opportunity to intervene in a student's misbehavior before those behaviors escalate to more severe behaviors or have a negative impact on the student's academic progress. Failure to communicate with a parent regarding a child's behavior can cause negative consequences for the school, such as complaints about how the discipline was handled by school administration or contesting of an assigned consequences. Parents or guardians should always be part of the disciplinary process. Describe different discipline approaches. School discipline approaches range from lax to very stringent. A lax approach does not mean that the school discipline does not exist. It means that discipline is often determined on the individual basis, reflective of the circumstances and individuals involved. This may include practices such as teen or peer courts and restorative justice models. Some discipline approaches combine individualized disciplinary strategies with set disciplinary policies. These approaches may offer flexibility in disciplinary options for relatively minor offenses and more defined options for more severe offenses. The most stringent disciplinary approaches have strict, predetermined consequences for student misbehaviors. The most common example of this type of discipline approach is a zero-tolerance policy. In zero-tolerance policies, the consequences associated with particular behavioral infractions are administered without regard to the individual offender, context, or other variables within the situation. Many schools implement discipline approaches that fall within the mid-range of this continuum, but a school leader should determine the best discipline approach for the campus based on student needs. Define classroom management. Classroom management refers to the strategies that teachers use to maintain order in the classroom and establish an environment conducive to learning. Classroom management is effective in preventing and addressing minor disciplinary problems. A teacher who demonstrates effective classroom management considers students' behavior and management in all aspects of the instructional process, including lesson planning, lesson delivery, room arrangement, procedures, and more. For example, a teacher may use diverse instructional practices to engage students and prevent disengagement or off-task behavior during a lesson. A teacher may also design a lesson so that students can get out of their seats and move to different areas of the classroom at various points. Classroom management also involves having clear expectations for student behavior, established procedures for all instructional activities, and strategies for effective redirection of students who misbehave. Teachers with effective classroom management also build rapport with students and utilize parental communication to preserve the learning environment. Describe how restorative justice is used in schools. Restorative justice is a practice in which students who have harmed their school community or an individual through their misbehavior are required to repair the harm. The first step is to facilitate a conversation regarding the offender's behavior. This is usually led by an adult in the school. The offender has the opportunity to provide his or her side of the story and give input on the consequences. Traditional consequences usually include detention, suspension, and expulsion, among others, whereas restorative justice provides an opportunity for a holistic approach to correcting the misbehavior. In other words, righting a wrong or making it right and preventing it from reoccurring in the future. There are no predefined consequences, as these might vary significantly based on the individual incident. For example, if a student has a temper tantrum, flips a desk in a classroom, and overturns a supply table, a community of adults and peers may determine that the student must clean the classroom during class for lunch for an entire week, in addition to offering a public apology to the teacher and classmates. Identify common disciplinary problems. Many disciplinary issues among students are common and can be prepared for with effective classroom management strategies. One category of common disciplinary problems is disengagement. Students who disengage are not usually disruptive of others in the instructional setting, but are not receiving instruction. These students may put their heads down and sleep or participate in off-task activities such as drawing, reading, writing, or daydreaming. Another category of discipline problems is disruptive. These behaviors indicate that the misbehaving student is not participating in instruction and is also preventing others from participating. These behaviors include excessive talking, standing, or walking around at inappropriate times, calling out, touching, or hitting others, making disruptive noises, and many others. These types of behavior are often addressed by the teacher when they occur and do not require serious disciplinary consequences unless the behaviors are repeated and the student does not respond to redirection. Define bullying and identify strategies to prevent it. Bullying occurs when one uses strength or other means of influence to intimidate another person. Bullying can be verbal, social, or physical and involves an imbalance of power. To prevent bullying, a school leader must employ several strategies. First, students and staff must be aware of what bullying is and is not. This will help to identify bullying quickly if it occurs. Also, the leader should create an environment in which bullying is not acceptable or tolerated. This will encourage those who are being bullied and those who observe bullying to report it so that it can be stopped. The school leader and the staff should also model healthy, respectful relationships with one another. The leader should not be a bully to staff, nor should staff bully students, as this would set an inappropriate model for students on campus. Additionally, acts of bullying should be addressed swiftly and effectively. This may include disciplinary consequences or other interventions such as peer mediation, counseling, or other strategies. Identify strategies that promote conflict resolution. Conflict resolution is the practice of resolving conflicts or disagreements, such as verbal or physical altercations, between students to prevent further disruption. To promote conflict resolution, staff members must be vigilant in identifying potential conflicts among student body. Early intervention is essential in resolving conflicts effectively. Staff members also want to build relationships with students and create an environment in which students feel comfortable reporting conflicts to adults. Both people experiencing the conflict should feel that there is an adult on campus who is willing and able to help them resolve the conflict. There should be structures or systems in place to practice conflict resolution, which can include identifying mediators, locating neutral spaces for conversations between the conflicted parties, including parents and guardians, and support services to meet students' mental health needs. Additionally, the campus culture should utilize and promote conflict resolution. Rather than simply administering consequences, this can be done by promoting conversations between students and adults and among peers regarding various aspects of their school experiences. Describe the importance of communicating the school's discipline policy to students, staff, and parents. The school's discipline policy should be communicated to students, staff, and parents. Students must understand behavioral expectations if they are to meet them. It cannot be assumed that all students and their families hold the same expectations for behavior. As a result, the school's discipline policy must be clearly communicated. This can be done with a printed handbook for student behavior as well as through verbal communications. When this discipline policy is not communicated clearly, this can lead to confusion and anger when consequences are administered. Emotional reactions from students and their parents or guardians can be expected when consequences are administered, especially for severe consequences. Ambiguity around rules and consequences make it difficult to administer discipline and can lead to nullification of warranted consequences due to ineffective communication of the discipline policy. Define discipline. Discipline is training students to abide by a specific code of behavior. When discipline is present, rules are typically stated and taught, and expectations for behavior are defined in a variety of contexts and situations. In addition to the rules that are outlined as part of the discipline policy, there are consequences associated with failing to abide by the stated rules and expectations for behavior. Many people associate discipline with administering consequences for failing to follow rules. However, the essence of discipline is the practice of training or teaching behavior. In schools, rules are often set by the school district and written in a student code of conduct for district-wide discipline. Schools may also have campus-wide expectations for behavior as part of their discipline, as well as sets of rules for individual classrooms. When discipline is effective, students are fully aware of behavior expectations and the consequences associated with not meeting those expectations. Explain the importance of applying discipline policy in a fair and equitable manner. The school discipline policy must be applied to students in a fair and equitable manner. Many studies have shown that male students, especially minority males, are disciplined more often and more severely than their peers. Unfair discipline can lead to increased misbehavior from students who receive the discipline at a higher rate than others, as well as by students who witness the inequitable discipline. The student who is disciplined more frequently may believe that he or she will receive consequences regardless of behavior, so he or she may choose to misbehave and earn the consequences. Students who witness this may believe they will not be punished for their behavior, so they can behave however they like. Rules should be enforced consistently. For example, if a school rule states that students should not chew gum, this rule should be enforced at all times and with all students, not just when it is convenient for the teacher or other staff member. Additionally, applying discipline in an unfair or inequitable manner can damage relationships with students and parents and can negatively influence the school culture. How can a leader identify community resources from promoting wellness? A leader can identify community resources for promoting wellness in a variety of ways. Often, these organizations desire to partner with the school and will visit or call the school to inform campus leadership of their services and identify ways that they can serve the school community. Sometimes school district offices maintain directories of community organizations and programs that support students and their families within the school district. The school leader can also do a basic internet search to identify nearby resources. Local resources include branches of city, county, or state organizations and are easily identified online. Finally, the school leader can make an effort to venture into the community and make connections with the leaders of area organizations to determine how the school and the organizations can collaborate. Explain the importance of utilizing community services for staff and student welfare. It is important for a school leader to utilize community services for staff and student welfare because school funds and resources are often insufficient to provide abundant resources for staff and students. Even if a school has sufficient budgetary resources, there is no need to spend funds on resources that may be available as a free community service. Also, utilizing community services may expand the number and type of resources that are available, which means more support and help for members of the school community. Most school services only provide services directly to students, whereas community services often have programs, resources, and support for the entire family, which can be more impactful to students and their families in many instances. Finally, utilizing community services builds partnerships and relationships between the school and the community, which can have a long-range benefit for both parties. For example, schools and community organizations can partner in community events, student recruitment, and applications for grant funding. Describe strategies for preventing teen suicide. The school leader can take steps to aid in the prevention of teen suicide or self-harm. Although many factors and influences outside of the school can lead a young person to commit suicide, the school and its staff can serve as a resource and support to students who experience suicidal thoughts. First, the leader should create a school culture in which students feel comfortable turning to teachers and staff for support. When this type of culture is present, a student is more likely to share thoughts of self-harm with a staff member, which can aid in prevention. The school should also have counseling staff and resources available for students who are experiencing emotional issues. Many schools discuss this topic with student body and provide telephone hotline numbers for support 24 hours a day. Also, if an adult becomes aware that a student is contemplating suicide or self-harm, he or she has a duty to report it to the proper authorities. Describe strategies for helping staff and students deal with grief on campus. At times, the student body and staff members will experience the loss of a peer or colleague. In these instances, the school leader will need to implement strategies to address the grief that students and staff experience. The first step that the leader must take is to acknowledge the loss. The leader should not operate with a business-as-usual attitude. Many schools have access to grief counselors who can be present on campus to assist students or staff who need assistance in dealing with their emotions. The school leader should also demonstrate understanding and compassion during this time and recognize that grief may cause students or staff to behave out of character, such as missing school, expressing outbursts of emotion like sadness or anger in school, or being disengaged from academic activities. It is important to listen to the needs of the students and staff during this time. The leader may provide opportunities for students and staff to express their feelings or to honor the one who has died. Identify the role that social media plays in student wellness and mental health. Social media has a large influence on students' wellness and mental health. Students who engage in social media often experience negative emotions as a result. Some students develop feelings of inadequacy or low self-esteem when they compare themselves to others online. This is the result of unrealistic beauty expectations and exaggerated portrayals of others' lives. Additionally, students may be exposed to cyberbullying via social media. This type of bullying can involve name-calling, threats, shaming, spreading rumors, and other negative behaviors that can negatively impact a student's well-being. Cyberbullying can lead to bullying and other conflict on campus as well. Finally, engaging in social media can be addictive for some youth. They may spend excessive amounts of time on social media or engage in risky behaviors in an attempt to gain social media attention. For example, a student may post provocative pictures of him or herself in an effort to attract attention. This can have negative consequences for the student's mental health and overall wellness. Describe how a school leader can ensure his or her own physical and mental wellness. In addition to ensuring the wellness of students and staff, the school leader should take steps to ensure his or her own physical and mental wellness. A leader cannot fulfill job responsibilities properly if he or she is not well. Also, the school leader should set an example for staff and students by prioritizing personal health needs. This is primarily accomplished by being proactive instead of waiting until a health problem arises to address it. First, the leader should delegate responsibilities and accept assistance whenever possible to keep stress levels low. The leader should also get regular checkups to quickly identify potential health problems. Eating and sleeping properly are also key components of maintaining physical and emotional health. Finally, the school leader should take advantage of the resources and supports that are offered on campus and through the school district. These may include counseling, use of workout facilities, support groups, nurse hotlines, and many other resources designed to support the physical and mental health of staff. Describe the leader's responsibility in making reports to Child Protective Services. Child Protective Services is a service provided by state agencies to protect the welfare of children. This agency investigates allegations of child abuse or neglect and provides services to children should such allegations be proved valid. There will be instances in which the school leader or a school staff member has reason to believe that a child is being neglected or abused. Whenever there is a suspicion of abuse or neglect, it is each staff person's responsibility, including the school leaders, to submit a formal report to Child Protective Services for investigation. For example, if a teacher reports to the school leader that one of her students has confided that his mother is hitting him with various objects and shows the teacher bruises, both the teacher and the leader should file a report. There can be legal ramifications for staff members who fail to report suspected child abuse or neglect. Explain why the leader should be proactive in promoting the wellness of staff and students. Being proactive in promoting the wellness of staff and students means that the leader is actively looking for ways to maintain the wellness of all before problems arise. This is important because prevention is often more effective and less costly than trying to address a problem after it has already occurred. For example, taking steps to prevent teen suicide is a better course of action than addressing a grieving student body after a teen has committed suicide. Similarly, it is more effective to help an unwell teacher obtain needed help than to lose the teacher for the remainder of the school year due to a health crisis. The school leader should proactively promote wellness and identify potential wellness needs among students and staff so that mental health crises can be prevented or at least detected early in the effort to prevent tragedies that directly affect the student body and staff. Being proactive demonstrates to all that the leader is concerned about their wellness of staff and students and is willing to take the needed steps to address their health concerns. Define a physically safe environment. A physically safe environment is free from seen and unseen dangers that would pose a threat to the physical safety of anyone exposed to the environment. A physically safe environment is in good repair, accessible to all, and accommodating to its designated purpose. For example, a physically safe classroom would be free from damaged walls, ceilings, or floors, broken or damaged furniture, leaky pipes or plumbing, and electrical hazards. Additionally, a physically safe environment includes well-controlled people so that no one is physically harmed by the presence of others. This includes adhering to capacity limits and monitoring the conduct of those present in the environment. For example, a school cafeteria should not exceed the posted maximum capacity of people, even for special events, and people should be able to move safely and freely in the cafeteria in accordance with its purpose. Describe the role that local, state, and federal laws and policies play in maintaining a safe environment for students and staff. Local, state, and federal laws and policies help school leaders maintain a safe environment for students and staff. These regulations and policies, when adhered to, create a minimum level of safety. For example, federal laws regarding aspects of school safety, such as asbestos management, ADA compliance, internet safety, and others, are interpreted into school policies. School districts may have additional safety requirements, such as the presence of police officers on campus, campus visitor policies, volunteer policies, and others. Local laws and policies may include fire codes and occupation limits, as well as other mandates for building safety that are not particular to schools but are implemented in all public places in the area. Each of these regulations and policies is meant to enhance the safety of the school, so the school leader should prioritize adherence to these regulations and policies. Failure to comply with local, state, and federal laws and policies can result in sanctions, fines, and other repercussions. Identify strategies that a leader can use to maintain a physically safe environment for students. A leader should take proactive steps to maintain a physically safe environment for students. First, the school leader should conduct regular inspection and maintenance of all parts of the building to ensure that no aspects of the physical building pose hazards to students. Next, the school leader should monitor flows of traffic within the school building to maintain safety. For example, a leader may notice that a school banner obstructs visibility in a hallway, causing students to bump into one another during transitions between classrooms. To promote safety, the leader should relocate the banner to a different area of the school. The leader should also ensure that common assembly areas such as hallways, courtyards, auditoriums, and others are monitored by school staff to prevent or identify conflict between students that could lead to physical harm. Define an emotionally safe environment. An emotionally safe environment is an environment in which all people are able to learn. This type of environment is free from all obstacles, emotions, and conflicts due to preventative strategies and quick resolutions. When an environment is not emotionally safe, children feel fear, anxiety, and a host of other emotions. In an emotionally safe environment, both adults and children feel comfortable participating in the learning environment and interacting with one another. There is an absence of peer-to-peer and peer-to-adult conflict as well as bullying. Procedures and systems such as counseling, mentoring, and other interventions are in place to ensure the emotional safety of students on campus. There is an emphasis on communicating one's needs to foster active participation and engagement in the learning process. Additionally, the physical arrangement of the environment is designed to contribute to emotional safety, such as including windows and natural lighting, inspirational and positive posters, and bulletin boards, and aesthetically pleasing furniture and decoration. What strategies can a school leader use to ensure that the school physical plant, equipment, and support systems operate safely, efficiently, and effectively? A leader must ensure that the school's physical plant, equipment, and support systems operate safely, efficiently, and effectively. The first step is to identify the appropriate staff to manage the physical plant. This person has the primary responsibility to ensure the safe functioning of everything on campus, so the leader must have the right person in place and must monitor his or her performance. Also, the leader must provide the plant manager with competent staff to support plant maintenance. In partnership with the manager, the leader can develop systems of monitoring and inspection to ensure that all aspects of the plant are running efficiently and safely. The school leader should also solicit feedback from other staff members who use certain aspects of the school plant. For example, if the school has a swimming pool, the leader should get feedback from the swimming coach or athletic director regarding the pool facilities. This feedback can help identify areas of improvement, repair, or replacement needs. Explain the importance of fairness and equity in applying student behavior management principles. Student behavior management strategies and discipline must be applied in a fair and equitable manner to be effective and maintain a positive school environment. Fairness involves communicating expectations prior to applying discipline. If expectations are unknown or unclear, students can be frustrated and deem it unfair to be held responsible. Fairness also means that the adults adhere to the expectations and consequences that have been communicated to students and parents. For example, a behavior strategy may be to give a student a warning before applying consequences. A teacher may give students multiple warnings on one day and never give consequences for a particular behavior, but on another day, the teacher may immediately give consequences for the same behavior without warning. This type of inconsistent behavior from the teacher would be deemed unfair. Also, staff must practice equity in discipline. Adherence to written policies and procedures can ensure that all students are disciplined in an equitable manner, regardless of race, gender, or academic and behavioral history. Describe the role of procedures in emergency situations. Procedures are necessary in emergency situations to ensure the safety of everyone affected. In emergency situations, emotions can cloud thinking and judgment. Additionally, people who are not familiar with a particular emergency situation may not know what to do in these instances. Having a procedure in place ensures that the right actions are taken in the event of an emergency, regardless of the emotional state or expertise of those involved. For example, if a person has a health emergency on campus, procedures should be in place for addressing the situation, including calling an ambulance, providing emergency aid, and maintaining the safety and order of the staff and students not immediately involved in the situation. These procedures should be taught to all staff on campus and be available in written form so it is accessible in the event of emergency. Having written procedures in place and abiding by them in the event of an emergency can also serve as legal protection for the school leader and staff. Identify behavior management and discipline strategies that a leader may use to manage student behavior. A leader may use a variety of behavior management and discipline strategies, as well as instructing staff to use them to properly manage student behavior. These different techniques and strategies almost all have certain characteristics in common. Effective behavior management requires active supervision. It is not enough for adults to be present wherever students are. They must survey students, anticipate student behaviors, and be prepared to intervene when necessary. Also, most strategies require that adults set clear expectations for student behavior. This can be done through establishing rules, behavior contracts, or other ways to articulate expectations. Finally, there must be clear consequences applied fairly and equitably. For behavioral infractions, many behavior management strategies encourage building relationships and rapport with students, incorporating positive consequences for appropriate student behavior, and addressing student behaviors without overly emotional responses such as yelling, sarcasm, or unprofessional language. Explain how student behavior management and student success are related. Student behavior management and student success are related because poor student behavior detracts from the learning environment. If a student is behaving in a disruptive or disengaged way in the classroom, he or she cannot learn effectively. If the poorly behaved student misses the instructional content, he or she will be less likely to succeed academically in that class. Poor student behavior can also negatively impact the academic success of other students in the room. For example, speaking out of turn, interrupting, and bothering others detracts from the learning environment. Finally, some behavioral consequences require the misbehaving student to be removed from the classroom. In these instances, the student often loses out on instructional opportunities, which can negatively impact academic success. Consequently, when student behavior is appropriately managed, the learning environment is preserved and all students have an opportunity to learn in a safe environment. Identify strategies that a leader can use to maintain an emotionally safe environment for staff. Like the students, staff members need an emotionally safe environment. A leader can establish and maintain an emotionally safe environment through leadership style, communication, awareness, and support. When a leader has a caring and empathetic demeanor, employees will feel emotionally safe. In contrast, high-strung micromanaging leaders can create fear and anxiety in staff. Also, leaders need to maintain open lines of communication with staff members. This allows them to communicate their needs so the leader can address them when possible. A leader should be able to recognize and be aware of aspects of the environment that endanger emotional safety for staff and should be able to address those concerns. For example, a lax discipline policy can create a challenging environment for teachers and staff. A leader can take steps to remedy this and create a safer environment. Finally, a leader should provide avenues of emotional support for staff. This may include staff counseling, referrals, or other accommodations and support that can help staff members feel emotionally safe. Describe the role of student behavior in maintaining a safe environment. Student behavior must be regulated and controlled for a safe school environment. Students who are unsupervised or do not adhere to established rules and procedures pose a threat to the safety of the school and to themselves. As a result, student behavior management is necessary to maintain a safe environment. School staff and ultimately the school leader are responsible for the safety of students the entire time they are at school. Unsupervised students may lead to unsafe environment since they are less prone to follow rules when supervision is absent. All students should be accounted for at all times and actively monitored. Additionally, students who misbehave can cause disruption, conflict, destruction of property, and a host of other actions that threaten the safety of the school environment. As a result, negative student behavior must be addressed quickly and effectively to maintain a safe environment. Define emergency preparedness. Emergency preparedness means that the school leader and staff have identified potential types of emergencies and plan the procedures, staff, and resources needed to address each type. Emergencies may include health emergencies, fire, natural disaster, intruders on campus, and many others. For each of these potential emergencies, a written plan of procedures should be created, detailing how everyone on campus should behave in the event of such an emergency. Key personnel with specific roles and responsibilities should be identified in the written plan. Everyone should be trained prior to the emergency to follow the written procedures. For many emergencies, practice drills can be conducted, such as fire drills or school lockdowns. Also, resources should be acquired, stored in designated locations, and inspected periodically. These resources may include printed copies of emergency procedures, fire extinguishers, automatic defibrillators, first aid kits, and other resources. Identify key emergency support personnel inside and outside of the school. The school leader should identify key emergency support personnel on campus to prepare them for emergencies. These key staff members should know their roles in each emergency instance and be trained on how to fulfill those roles in the event of an emergency. These staff members may include the school nurse, counselor, police officer, or security personnel, administrators, or other school leaders, clerks, and others, depending on the nature of the emergency. For example, a different team of personnel may be needed to respond to a health emergency than a natural disaster emergency. Emergency support personnel outside of the school may include key district staff members and personnel at various emergency response organizations, such as the fire department. Describe ways that a leader can promote counseling and wellness. A leader should promote counseling and wellness to encourage staff and students to take advantage of these supports for their own welfare. A leader can do this by making counseling and wellness programs visible to all. This may mean having signs and displays around the school that promote these programs. Also, the leader can communicate the availability of these resources using common means of communication such as emails, news bulletins, school public announcements, and announcements in staff meetings. The staff members who lead counseling and wellness programs can be included in other school projects and programs, such as in behavior intervention meetings or academic interventions, so that they are viewed as an integral part of the campus team. A school leader can also consider hosting mental health and wellness fairs for school members and the community to raise awareness about potential health concerns and to promote available services. Identify key staff that can promote the welfare of staff and students. The key staff members responsible for promoting the welfare of staff and students is the school leader. The school leader creates a school culture in which students and staff feel safe, as well as structures and systems to promote support and intervention for students and staff in need. The school leader also sets the example for treatment of students and staff, such as displaying understanding, empathy, and compassion. The school leader should also identify other key staff who can promote the welfare of staff and students. Each member of the leadership team, such as assistant principals or deans, should take the lead in promoting the welfare of all and lead by example. The school leader should also enlist the support of counselors, nurses, and others who can be proactive in identifying and responding to the needs of students and staff. Additionally, teachers play a key role in identifying the needs of students and promoting their welfare within the classroom. Identify indicators that students may need counseling and health referrals. A leader can watch for several indicators to determine that students may need a recommendation to counseling and health services. A student may begin to act out and display negative behaviors in the classroom with other students or with adults on campus. This can be an indicator if the student does not usually display poor behavior at school. Additionally, a student who is usually engaged in classroom activities and with peers but becomes withdrawn and disengaged may also need help. These indicators can also lead to poor academic performance, indicated by failing grades. Students in need of support may also demonstrate emotional responses in school, such as angry outbursts, crying, yelling, or even physical altercations with other students. In some instances, a parent may communicate with a staff member that the child is having difficulty at home as well. A school leader should ensure that systems are in place on campus to allow students to express their needs so that they can be referred for services. This may include having walk-in counseling hours or open-door policies with key staff members. Identify indicators that staff may need counseling and health referrals. A leader can watch for several indicators to determine that staff members may need a recommendation to counseling and health services. Teachers and staff who need help may be frequently absent without a reasonable excuse. These absences may be jokingly referred to as mental health days, but are often indicators that a staff person is stressed or overwhelmed. Another indicator of a need for counseling and health services are overly emotional responses to everyday stimuli. These responses may include yelling, crying, or bursts of anger. The school leader can also look for changes in staff behavior. For example, if a staff member who is usually outgoing, energetic, and talkative becomes withdrawn and disengaged, this may indicate a need for additional support. Staff who are unable to do their jobs satisfactorily, especially if they have a history of satisfactory performance, may need support from counseling and health services. The school leader should keep communication open so that the staff are comfortable communicating that they need help.